You probably have noticed that some products are quite complex to use. They might be very powerful, they can do a lot of things, but they might be relatively difficult to use and to learn, and the learning curve might be really steep. This is what is usually called or referred as feature creep. So feature creep happens when you are continuously adding more and more features to your product, and what you're building is more and more complexity to the product that you have. This is not necessarily having problems or creating technical debt or complexity internally in the product necessarily. It might lead to it, and probably in many cases it is leading to that. But the reality is that it is affecting very heavily the usability and the design of the product. So the user experience that your customers or your users are having, it is kind of degrading over time. So where do you see this? I would say that B2C products rarely have this problem, or they don't usually have it, or it's not that often. Although you could say that the first versions of Facebook were very simple, and whereas in time it had more features, maybe making it more complex and more confusing for people to understand what it was trying to address. Maybe it was trying to do too many things. Maybe that's not the best example because, again, I don't think that is necessarily the case for Facebook, but I haven't been a user for a long time, so I cannot tell. But I have seen a more clear example when it comes to B2B products. So products that are built for other businesses. And here you can see that over time, these products are adding more and more features. They are adding more value to their customers. But that value comes with a decrease of the experience that the users are having. And that is a big problem because in the case that you are adding more value, but the people don't know how to use it, it might be that you actually are not adding any value because nobody knows how to use it. And that's a problem. And that's something that you had to think about. Do you have to add more features to an existing product, or would it make sense to create a new product? I think a good example, for example, is Premiere Pro, the software or the product that I'm using for editing these videos. It is a tool, to be frank, I just don't need probably, I would think, 2/3 of the functionality. Or maybe I'm using even less. Maybe I'm using somewhere between the 20% and 30% of the functionality that is available in the tool. But I don't need the whole thing. I just don't even know how to use it. To be frank, I don't even bother to learn it. And this is something that happens very often with business-to-business tools. And you could argue that Premiere Pro is not necessarily a business-to-business tool, but it's a very professional tool. So you could argue that people that are using it anyways, they are using for some kind of professional service. This is my hobby, so it's not my profession, YouTube, but it's still, you could say that in a way it's professional use because I'm using it constantly to produce these videos. In any case, you can see that Premiere Pro or Adobe has already tried to diversify a little bit or take some things and not integrate it directly into Premiere Pro, so After Effects is not directly available within Premiere Pro. But still, I think that the tool itself is quite complex. Even better examples are things like SAP, Salesforce, ERP tools. Those can be super complicated, can be extremely customizable. They might need consulting and development and some kind of customization before they can be integrated into the user's environments. And not just because it needs to integrate into the environment, it's also because it needs customization. And yes, you could argue that myself, I have made also promoted the decision of adding more features into an existing product. And that is true. But I think that this is something that we need to think about, especially when it comes to B2B, about when should we consider potentially building a new product. And by the way, I understand the situation with B2B. I'm not saying that those products would not work together. There had to be integrations, there had to be APIs, whatever it is that is going to help those tools to work together to communicate as seamlessly as possible. But they don't have to come as just one package. The problem is that when you try to cram too many features into the same product, you potentially are going to make the experience for your users more complicated. And I think that this is something that we should think more as an industry, especially product managers, as people, or product designers especially, but as people that are planning those products, that are looking into how they are going to be used by our customers. We need to think more about that experience that they have. And yes, we do think about experience. We have product designers. We look into the customer journeys or the user journeys in the product. We try to define those storyboards that are going to help bring a better experience. But I think that is something that we should definitely look more into and pay more attention, so the experience and the usability of our products, the design of those products is actually on point, and people don't have a hard time learning to use them. I think that this is something that we should maybe strive for, and something that is going to prevent you from having feature creep. So what about you? Are the products where you are working having feature creep? I'm pretty sure that if you are in some kind of B2B product, most likely there's going to be some level of feature creep. Please let us know in the comments below if you also have, and what do you think that could be the solutions. You might also be familiar with the term scope creep. Scope creep is something that is quite different from what feature creep is, although somehow might be even related. If you wonder what this is and you're not familiar with the term, please comment below, let me know, and I will be doing a video about it. If you want to know more about working in software companies and tech products, go check some of these videos. I will see you in the next one, and remember, stay safe.